Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I guess depending on where you're tuning in from. I decided to go live for maybe 20-30 minutes today and talk to you about LinkedIn best practices. I think since there are, like 550 million users on the site, I think this is always a relevant topic and something that's close to my heart. So I thought I'd share some tips with you. All right, I've been using LinkedIn for about 11 years now. I joined in 2008 when I was still in college, and I'm pretty sure one of the professors, recommended creating a LinkedIn profile before we go out into the real world and start, looking for a job and so forth. So I created a profile. I didn't really use it that much up until 2009, which is when I graduated and got my first job. I was working at GARP, which is the Global Association of Risk Professionals, where I was in charge of business development. So it's kind of like a soft sales that I was in charge of, getting awareness about various training programs and basically just talking to people. So that's when I started going to LinkedIn and kind of posting quick blurbs about like, hey, GARP is having an event in New York City, whoever wants to join, come on in and, sign up for our chapter meetings. And it was exciting because I would get like 10 comments, right? It was, even that part was exciting. So that was my first kind of introduction to professional online networking. But I only stayed at that company for about a year, and I didn't really use LinkedIn probably for 7 or 8 years after that. Not actively, at least. I would, connect with some of the people I've already known, and I was talking to people that I've met, and then we would connect on LinkedIn just to kind of stay in touch. Instead of exchanging business cards, we would just connect with each other. But for a long time, I was really opposed to adding people that I didn't know, which I think was not a good idea on my part, because it limited me to interacting with just the individuals that I already knew. By the way, if you're just joining the LinkedIn live session now, I'd love to hear where you're joining in from. And if you have any comments, questions, I'm happy to interact with you live. I actually have a screen open where I can see your comments. So I can see Surya and Tagi and Francesco, and hi to everybody else who's joining. All right, so back to the story. So yes, I didn't use LinkedIn as much for about 7, 8 years. But about 2 years ago, I started becoming really active on the site. I started adding other people that I didn't really know. Basically, if somebody wanted to connect with me that had similar background or interest, I would accept their connection and have conversations, and that actually even led to some cool opportunities for me personally, professionally. So I started to be more open to that, because if you don't accept people you haven't met, it's almost as if you go to a conference that has, let's say, 10,000 people, and you only want to talk to the people that you already know. It sounds crazy, right? Because you go there so you can meet people, so you can network. And if you're not really, don't shake hands with anybody you don't know, it kind of defeats the purpose. And I think LinkedIn is the same as going to a conference. It's just it's a gigantic conference. Yes, good to see you too, Amal and Akshay and Mohammed. Hi from London. This is awesome. People follow from France. This is great. I love the international vibe I'm getting here. Maybe this time zone is actually better, because I think we can get India, as I could see Jitendra from India. I think usually when I go live at 3 or 4 p.m. my time, which is in New York, the Eastern time zone, I think most people from India are probably sleeping, so they can't join. So I'm glad I'm testing out this new time zone. All right, so we're here today to talk about LinkedIn best practices. So I kind of covered the first part, which is, try to be open to people. Not only the ones that you've already met, but maybe people that have a similar background and similar interests. All right, so like I said, I'm going to go over some best practices, but if you have comments, questions, please feel free to start chiming in. Now, I will start with your LinkedIn profile. Basically, think of this as your landing page, right? If you're a company and you have a website, your profile is, in this sense, your landing page. This is the first thing people see about you. This is where they can learn everything they can about you. And it's your ability, to put your best foot forward and to stand out really, really makes a big difference on LinkedIn, because there are so many people out there, and I think because it's a professional social networking site, most people try to blend in. You know, they try to have all the same titles and follow the, you know, very straight and narrow rules. But one thing you'll notice is if you tweak something just a little bit, it's very easy to stand out. All right, if you have like a really great photo or some interesting tidbit in your summary, or even more important, a really catchy headline, something really funny, or you know, just smart, quick-witted, whatever, it's pretty cool, and you can stand out amongst the crowd, which I think you'd want to do, because if you're on LinkedIn, you're probably trying to either, you know, stay in touch with people, you know, you want to meet other people with for business ventures or for personal ventures, whatever that may be. Standing out is usually a good thing on a platform such as LinkedIn. All right, so step one, have a photo. Please have a photo. It's hard to communicate. Okay, here, try to talk to me like this. It's hard to communicate when you don't see the person. So I would say have a photo. I know most people say have a really professional photo. I think the quality should be professional, but I don't think you need to be, you know, for the men, I don't think you need to be suit and tie and just like really serious or a slight smile. I think you could just be yourself. You know, if you're like a mountain climber, you can have a picture of yourself climbing mountains. You don't have to fit into the really direct, straight and narrow professional photo, as long as it's nothing too crazy, you know, kind of use your own inside advice for that. Another thing I'd say is on LinkedIn, you have like this background photo where you can pick another image. So here's like the circle where your profile is, and in the back there's like this big rectangular image. You can actually update that. I'm not sure if everybody knows that. On mine, I think I have just like my dedicated, which is my slogan for dedicated to data. And then I have my 2 books, which is Journey to Data Scientist and The Disruptors, Data Science Leaders. So I have those like book covers on there. And then I also have the LinkedIn Top Voice for Data Science and Analytics. So thanks for that, LinkedIn. I'll be using that all year. Yeah, so definitely update that. That's just another way for you to get creative and stand out. Your tagline. So as I mentioned, my tagline is kind of the dedicated, which, like I said, stands for dedicated to data. Some people even said it kind of has the word Kate in it, so it's kind of data-cated. Anyways, you can come up with your own tagline. I would say try to be as unique and creative as you can. I do see plenty of taglines out there that say something like actively looking for a job or actively searching for a new role. That doesn't really tell me much. When I see that, I don't know, I don't want to say I just scroll past them, but there's nothing there that would make me say, oh, this person, you know, I know what they want in life. I know what they want to do for work. So I have a question here from Prakash. Hi Kate, what do you suggest I should keep as my background pick being a student? Being a student, well, you can put your background of your maybe student, school logo, school mascot, or whatever it is you want to do. Like what's your major or what's your hobby? Like what tells people about you? And you don't have to limit it to like a picture you find on Google. What I've been doing is if you can get PowerPoint, which I would say most of you probably have PowerPoint, you can edit, like take a rectangle, use the guidelines of like what size it needs to be, and then just put different pictures on there. So if you're into motorcycles, like my brother Steve, who actually also just asked a question here, which I'm going to get to in a second, you know, you could have put a picture of a motorcycle. As a student, I'd say keep it more to what you would like to do when you're graduating. So Steve's question is, should we ask experts to help us with the profile? I think it depends. I would personally not, because I think it's straightforward enough, honestly, and nobody knows you better than you. But if you're not like a great writer, you might want to get some help on writing your summary or even tagline from somebody who's more creative, or, you know, if maybe, you know, there's a language barrier or something, maybe get somebody to read through it. I think that would be some skills you can hire for. Hey, Andreas, thanks for tuning in. I know you have several live sessions. Andreas Kretz, everyone. He's the Plumbers of Data Science. Definitely follow him. He posts a lot about engineering and stuff, data engineering. All right. Also, if you're looking for a job, one, I think I gave this tip before as a post maybe a year ago, but instead of saying actively looking for a new role, I would say something like hashtag recruitable, or, you know, just put what you're really good at, and say something like, if you're a data scientist, for example, you know, data scientist looking for a company to work for. So something, just get creative with it, you know? And it also doesn't have to be static. Another note on that's still on the tagline. You can update that every day if you want it. You know, LinkedIn doesn't have restrictions on what kind of taglines you put there. So I've actually seen people say something like, I'm out of office from, you know, April 4th to April 9th or something. So people know that if you're slow to respond, it's because, oh, look, this person's out of office. So it can be used for multiple purposes. Aman asks, how to ask for referrals from people who are in my network, but I don't know them personally. Well, Aman, I actually would recommend you don't ask for referrals from people that you don't know personally, because they can't really refer you if they don't know you. I would ask for referrals from people you worked with, and in this case, I don't know if you are currently working somewhere, if you're looking for a job, you know, you can even ask for referrals from your college schoolmates. That's actually what I did in 2008 when I had just started. To this date, I still have a review from my husband. He wasn't my husband at the time, but we were in school together, and I'd asked him to write a review. I still have it on my profile. Yes, Elise says creativity is key. Yes, I completely agree with that. Kanika asks, should LinkedIn be treated like Facebook? I see people sharing their personal life, and I thought it was supposed to be only professional. You know, for the longest time, I think it was focused on very, very professional type of content. And there wasn't much content to begin with, actually. I would say that if you look like 6-7 years ago, people shared content, but it was a very small percentage of people, and it was very professional, but it wasn't as big as it is today. I mean, if you scroll through your LinkedIn feed today, you'll see videos, you'll see, now we have live videos, you'll see pictures, you'll see, yes, puppies and cats and all those kind of crazy things. And you'll see pictures of me running, and, you know, I think some people might disagree with my stance on this, but I think a little bit of personality is fine to include in your LinkedIn, you know, content feed. I like to show my personal side just because I think it makes me more human. I don't want to be known just for data. There are definitely other aspects of my life, like being a mother, being a wife, you know, just I took a flying lesson, like I run, I do all these random things, and I think sharing them with other people, it just makes you more human, and it's just a lot more fun for me. I don't do this for like a very specific reason. I do this because it actually is a lot of fun for me. All right, so Javier said he joined a little late, may have missed this, but how do you recommend adding new connections via mobile? He may be doing this wrong, but he doesn't believe he can customize his personal connection request via the phone app. That's actually a very good question. So I also didn't think you can do that. So this question is about invites and connections, right? Which I'm going to get to next, actually. That was my next topic. But you could customize a LinkedIn invite on your phone as well. There, you just have to like click a certain other button. I can't get that to you right now, but thanks, Andreas. I'm on fire. Great. Yes, so it is possible. I would say just Google it because I'm probably not doing it justice, but it is possible. Renato asks, Kate, today I have 30,000 connections and I would like to reach 100,000. Is that possible? And how much would it cost? It wouldn't cost anything. Renato, I think you just need to add value on your network. I mean, when I started this about 2 years ago, I think I had like 5,000-6,000 followers. And now I'm somewhere upwards of 45,000 just 2 years later. So I think patience and adding value and enjoying the process is really what's going to get you there. Kumars agrees with my thought on having a personal section to share some of the humane moments. Great, thank you. I'm glad somebody agrees with me. Before I go into sending invites, I would just want to talk about the summary. So we spoke about the picture, the tagline, and now the summary. So that's the bigger, wordier section of it. I say take advantage of it, take full advantage. I mean, my summary is probably like 3-4 paragraphs long. They're small paragraphs, And I use a lot of emojis, you know, to make it interesting. But it doesn't have to be in any boring specific structure. You can use like bullet points. You just make sure that your first few lines get the reader's attention, so then they could click the read more button and then really get to know about you. And like I said, like, don't be afraid to share some personal details in there as well. Moving on to sending invites to new connections, right? This is what LinkedIn is all about. We're here to grow our network. I'd say start with being intentional, right? Who do you want to be a part of your network? You're choosing your tribe. You're choosing the people that interact with your content. So, you know, your network is equal to your net worth. So you really have to be wise in how you do this. But this doesn't mean that you should just pick the one specific, like if you're, you know, in risk management, don't just add chief risk officers. Add people that support risk management, add the vendors, so this way you get like the full spectrum of what's going on in that field or in that industry. When you're sending the invite, as somebody asked before, personalize the invite. You know, why do you want to connect with this person? I almost always accept an invitation if there's a personal message there that tells me why they want to connect with me. If it's something like, hi, can you help me find a job? I'm not as likely to accept that invitation as if it's something like, hey, Kate, I saw you posted something about like this book you're reading and I read it, or I want to read it. What are your thoughts on it? Can we connect and chat or something like that? Yeah, I'd probably add that person, you know, they're, if it doesn't look like they're trying to pitch me or trying to just get something out of me immediately, because that's just not a good feeling. And that gets to my third point is don't pitch in the invite and don't pitch directly after the invite. And, you know, if you're selling a product, I'm not going to say don't pitch at all, but it's easier to get clients, I feel like, or get the word out by creating valuable content. And Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V as most people know him, he talks about this quite a bit, where he says if you just keep giving people valuable content, they're going to come to you. So you're not going to have to spend time pitching people. You can add those people to your network. For example, if your main buyer is a chief risk officer for, you know, whatever your stuff that you're selling, yes, add those people to your network and send them an article that you think would be useful for them. And then when they see you talking about your product, they might be more willing to comment or engage with your stuff, with your content, with your video, article, whatever. And then that's another way you can get clients. Okay, yes, Saeem, you know Gary Vee, that's great. All right, let me go to see if there are any questions. Spencer Smith says, how about on a smaller scale? Is there any advice for someone growing their network from under 1,000 followers to 5,000? Spencer, yes, I think I know it's a little difficult to start when you don't have that many followers and you feel like every post you create is like screaming by yourself into an empty room, and you know there's no engagement. I know you can start to feel a little bit down and like discouraged, but everybody starts that way, right? Nobody's born to the platform with thousands of followers. I think the more consistent and valuable content you put out, the faster the growth rate. And it also matters that, you know, you're adding the right connections, because if your connections are interested in the content that you're sharing, then they're likely to share it with their network, right? So it's all about picking the types of content you want to create and then creating that content and then making sure that the right people see it, like it, find value, and share it. All right, moving on to messaging. First, let me see if there are any other questions. Okay, Nishad says, does LinkedIn Premium, is it helpful for finding jobs? And do you think LinkedIn learning content is better than other learning portals? I actually do have LinkedIn Premium because I was trying to help somebody else I know find a job, and it's just easier to look at jobs and get more information on salary and things like that from LinkedIn Premium. So I think there are definitely benefits of it. I don't think it's necessary for, success on the platform, but I don't think it can hurt. And as far as the learning content, I haven't really taken that many courses on there, but I would say it's probably similar to like Coursera or other online learning platforms. Okay, so Jay Verdon says, I personally feel helping others and sharing resources is going to get more followers. I guess that's something that I noticed Kate does as well. Well, thank you so much. Yes, I think sharing other people's content is great. Liking content is great. Commenting and engaging is great. But what I'd like to get to after I talk about messaging is original content. So let me quickly talk about messaging. So let's say you sent an invite, your invite was accepted. Like I said, don't respond with a pitch, respond to, like if you wanted to connect with this person, think, why did I want to connect with them? Is there something you want to talk to them about? Do you want to set up a call, a meeting? Or do you just want to stay connected? If that's the case, don't even send a message, or you could just say, hey, thank you for connecting. Don't spam everyone in your network. You would think that that's like a given, right? But yeah, it's not. I get spammed a lot. I'm sure everybody gets spammed a lot because it's so easy. I can message 45,000 people directly, or how many whatever connections I have. I can message them all day long. I'm sure there are limits, and LinkedIn will block me or something for, spamming or trying to be like a robot. But you're not going to get much out of it. You might get like a tiny, tiny percentage of people that would actually even respond, and their response will probably be like, hey, dude, stop spamming me. So it's not an effective approach. I think customizing your messages is just extremely important. So just wanted to get that out there. Elias asks, he says, I don't believe that people can get a job via LinkedIn. All right. You know what? I missed this part. I'm going to share a quick story with you. So I worked at GARP, and then I transitioned to this new role at Bank Leumi, where I was working for a chief risk officer. It was before my data analytics life, I guess. But when I was working for that bank, I started this website called riskarticles.com. It's actually still live today. I'm just not as active at it right now. But I would post risk articles, blog posts, and I had guests writing posts, and I did surveys and wrote about conferences, all this type of stuff. Basically, I put a lot of content on that blog, and I would share that blog with people on LinkedIn. I would just post once in a while. Definitely not as active as I am now. But what happened was I ended up getting a job through LinkedIn because a recruiter who works at Deloitte saw my articles on LinkedIn, and she messaged me on LinkedIn, and she was like, oh, hey, you're so passionate about risk, you must be crazy or something, or you must really like it. And she asked me to come in for an interview at Deloitte. And at that time, I never would have even dreamt of applying to companies such as that. I don't know, I just never, at that point I didn't have great confidence, I guess, in myself. So I wasn't even looking for a job, but I ended up going for the interview, and I ended up getting the job, and I'm still working here, and I absolutely love it. So just answering your question, yes, you could. You can definitely get a job through LinkedIn. There are also a lot of people that apply on LinkedIn and they get jobs. I'm actually going to ask the audience who joined right now if anybody actually did get a job on LinkedIn. If you could just write a comment and tell us, that would actually be great. All right, question number 2 from Renato. LinkedIn is making investments to create stronger network, or is it simply maintaining what was created several years ago? Having several interface problems, mainly in the messages received, and difficulty in responding and locating them. Renato, I'm sorry, I'm not really sure if I would be able to answer that question. That's probably better targeted for somebody at LinkedIn. Okay, so moving on to my favorite topic, original content. So you can grow your network, right? Somebody said they want to get to 100,000 connections or 100,000 followers. But if you're not putting out content, people are not going to engage with you. Those contacts are just going to sit there, kind of like they would in a Rolodex somewhere on your desk back in the day. Yeah, so that's not going to really get you anywhere. So now I would say, you can comment, like, and share people's posts, and you should, right? Especially if you find value in it. Like, if you like something, like it. If you have a comment on something, comment. And if you want to share it with your network, definitely share it with your network. But creating original content is like a true passion of mine, because it allows you to be creative, it allows you to add value, and it allows people to engage with you and your content. And if you don't know what to write, another thing that I learned from Gary Vee is you can just document your process, right? Wherever you are in your life, if you're a student, if you're an intern, if you're a CEO, you're just starting a business, you're document that process because people want to hear about it. Like, really, you might think, oh, what do I like? I have no other perspective, whatever. No, you can absolutely add your own perspective, and I always love to hear people's stories. So especially like the more personal they get, the more interesting it is. That's just kind of like this human connection. That's what we're drawn to. I don't have anything special really to talk about, but sometimes just sharing your story is enough. Now, I actually wrote an article on LinkedIn. It's probably one of my most recent articles. It's about content creation ideas. So if you really don't know what to talk about, you know, I give some ideas there, but I'll give you some tips here. You could talk about your career progression, right? How you went from A to Z to where you are now. Tell your story. You can interview somebody and then tell their story. If you're not if you're not comfortable telling your own, let's start with a friend. You know, highlight their story if they're okay with it. You can describe what a typical day in the life looks like for you. So you might think that you're boring and ordinary, or you might think you're super exciting. Either way, you're different than everybody else because you're special, and I think just documenting that story is enough. Highlight events that you attended to. So if you attended an event, let's say a conference that's relevant to your industry, or even something completely random, you know, what are the 3 things that you learned? Talk about that. Create a short video while you're there. Write a blog post. Take a photo. Take a selfie. It's really easy. The first few times, I think, are difficult because you're putting yourself out there. And I think my first video was probably terrible. I mean, I'm not saying they're good now, but I'm just saying I was like, let me redo this. No, let me redo this. And I would re-record. I'm like, no, this is still not good. You know what? Now I just put the phone in front of my face and I talk, and then I submit it and I upload it because, you know, nobody really is going to pay attention to how many times you said the word or if you stumbled or if you had to think about something. That's just human behavior. Before I continue on here, Eric asked, aside from LinkedIn best practices, how long did it take you to become Tableau certified? You can get Tableau certified in like 2 hours, I guess. So it doesn't take long. Obviously, it takes some time to train. I think Tableau recommends that you do about 3 months or 3 to 6 months of hands-on Tableau experience before taking the exam. But to become a Tableau specialist, which is the first level of certification, they have 3 levels now. It's like $100. It was $50 last year. They just raised it to $100 in 2019. And it wasn't that difficult of an exam, but I will tell you, they do try to trick you. Since we're on this topic, I will give you one piece of advice. If you're taking that exam or any Tableau exam, you can actually use the online resources, which you might think was cheating, but they actually tell you can use the Tableau online resources. As long as you're not going to your like Gmail or something, you can actually Google things. So that's a tip for you. Cindy, that is a good point about sharing one's personal growth. Yeah, I think so, because it actually motivates other people as well, because you hear somebody's story, and you know, you always learn from each other. So that's definitely something I like to hear other people's stories. Another thing you can do is hold a Q&A session with your audience. You know, you don't have to go live or anything, but you can just say, hey, I'm here, you know, do you have any questions for me? It can even be a post. Or you can create a video that's asking people to ask you questions, and that will give you tons of ideas, because they'll see that you're, for example, you know, in fashion industry, and they have an interest in fashion industry, so they might ask you questions, and that will give you ideas for content. I definitely did that a lot early on. You can summarize key findings from a book you read. I read a lot. I kind of took a break for a month or so, but I'm definitely back into it. I'm reading the Atomic Habits by James Clear right now, and I'm totally in love with that book. Can't wait till this evening when I get to pick it back up. But you can summarize whatever you learn. You know, did a quote stand out for you? Take a picture of the book, type up the quote, do something like that, or make a video and talk about why this spoke to you. Or if you recommend the book or don't recommend the book, write a review, do something. And the last thing is you can describe how to do something. You know, you might think everybody knows how to do that thing that you know how to do, but that's not the case, because you know, you're, like I said, you're special, you have special skills, you have special interests, and if you can tell me how to, you know, do X, Y, Z, and I don't know how to do it, then your step-by-step guide will really help me, and then I'll engage you, and that's kind of like where this whole engagement thing goes. Sachin asks, what's motivation to keep going in data science? What could be a career path? Career path in data science? Well, you can be a data scientist. It could be, in data analytics. It applies to like every industry out there, and it's really, I still think it's a growing field with all of this. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of career paths. I mean, we can have a whole discussion just on that. Okay, Satish says, it helps to identify the companies that exist and run futuristic product. I saw so many companies throw it in. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what the question was. All right, another thing I wanted to talk about was hashtags and tagging. All right, so hashtag, it just means, the keywords that your post is about. You put the hashtag or pound sign, and, you put the keywords. Like for today, I think I put LinkedIn, hashtag live, hashtag best practices, something of that matter. Tell people what you're going to be talking about. This way, if they follow the hashtags, they'll see your post. And I think that's important, but I would say don't overdo it. Don't have like 50 hashtags and try not to write a sentence with hashtags in it. I do it sometimes, but it's not as easy to read for people, and it's almost as if you're writing it just to put the hashtag in. So what I try to do is I write my thoughts down, and then I use the bottom part of the post to kind of hashtag it out. And then tagging people. I would say tag people that you either are asking them a question, and to tag somebody you just click at, and then, their name, and then LinkedIn will find them, and then it'll let them know that you tagged them, and then they can go and interact. I would say, again, just like hashtags, limit them to about 3 to 5. If you're tagging 50 people in a post, it's probably very obvious that you're just looking to get like a lot of attention. And when it's too obvious, people don't look at it as much. I don't know, it's like counterintuitive to humans, I guess. So I try not to tag too many people unless they really are relevant to the discussion. Shedrick says, Atomic Habits, awesome book. Yes, I agree, absolutely. All right, let me see what other questions we have. All right, Abhinav says, hey Kate, do you think you need to really have a personal connection with a person before you send an invite to a person? Do you think a small, high quality or active network is better than a large network? It depends what you're trying to do, Abhinav. I think you don't necessarily need like a personal connection with a person before you invite them to connect, but I do think there has to be something in common, some kind of interest or field of study or field of work or industry, like anything really that you can have in common, because otherwise why else would you reach out to them? Like they won't really add value. If you have like 50,000 connections that are not really adding value or not interested in the stuff you're posting, you're not going to get much engagement. Like if your whole thing is talking about cars and you don't have anybody in your network that cares much about cars, you're going to keep posting, and it's really going to be like screaming into an empty wall for like the rest of whenever, because people just won't care, so they won't engage. People engage in what they care about. And your second question about high quality small network better than a large network, I think option C, get a high quality large network. I know it's hard to execute on something like that, but I think I actually ended up having a really good and active network. I don't know if it's large or small. I guess size is relative, but yeah, I think it's important to have enough people there to have a discussion. But I'm not really focused on hitting a specific number or something. It's just I just enjoy getting the engagement and the great conversations that I have with people. All right, let's see what other questions. Oh, some people actually said that Kumar said that he has gotten a job through the network and the recruiter approached him through LinkedIn. So I guess people do have opportunities. Javier said not a full-time job, but he did get a great 4-month consulting contract last year through LinkedIn. So definitely there are opportunities, which I'm not surprised, because this is what LinkedIn was made for, is to help people find a job. All right, let me go to the next thing, which is LinkedIn pages. Now this is more relevant to people who have like a blog or like a company that they started. But if you're not aware that you can create a LinkedIn page for your company. I have one for Story by Data, which is my blog, and I think it's really cool because it kind of gives me like split personality abilities where I can be myself and then I can also be the company, and you can have somebody else control that company page. And you can also put out content through your company page, which is really great because it just helps you broaden your audience that much more and get your message out. So for those that are looking for a job, if you don't know, there's actually an option where you can go into your privacy settings and tell people that you're open to new opportunities. This way recruiters kind of get like this green flag that says, all right, this person's open to new opportunities, go ahead and reach out to them. And also for those that are not looking for a job but are extremely sick of recruiters spamming you, go in there and turn that thing off. I actually did that at some point when I really was sure that I was not looking for any new opportunities and I just love where I'm at. So, you know, you can turn that off for a while and just have things quiet down. All right. If you do have more questions, I will take them. I'm going to wrap up in a few minutes here. But I guess the last thing I can talk about here is pushing LinkedIn updates to Twitter. So it's kind of like killing two birds with one stone. LinkedIn has this ability when you create a post or video or picture, you have an option when you share. It says, do you also want to share? Like if you connect your Twitter account, it can automatically post things to your Twitter. So I've been doing that, and I'm not really active on Twitter, but I've been actually able to grow a following to like probably like 1,500 people or so without really doing much. Kumar says, it's really getting difficult to manage a large network and he had to go through a lot of messages to find the person I want to talk to. Suggestions? Yes, I actually have a similar issue where messages tend to get lost. You know, if somebody messages me and I don't respond right away, and then, 50 people message me that same day, I mostly either forget to message them, and I really appreciate when they message me again to remind me, or you just have to scroll a lot. I have not found the best way to do this. What I actually do is I mark them as unread if they're important, and then there's a feature that you can look on messages on LinkedIn. You can click show me unread only, and then you can kind of filter to the unread ones and make sure you don't miss out on any messages. All right, Tejas says, just the thing that world is full of data, and data science helps you make better sense of it. You can go through the first course of IBM Professional Certificate on Data Science for a career path. Thank you for that suggestion, Tejas. All right, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. I hope you got some value out of this and was able to learn some new things on LinkedIn best practices, and definitely stay in touch. Have a great day.